Hello and welcome to the Epilogue with Sihle Polani. So often when we speak about toxic work environments, we speak about horrible bosses, we talk about job security, we talk about the threat of the loss of income. But very, very rarely do we actually talk about the health impact that toxic work environments have on us. On today's show, I'm joined by Dr. Lerato Masemola, who's going to help me unpack this topic a bit more so that we get a deeper understanding of what toxic environments actually mean for our health, not just physically, but mentally and psychologically as well. Lerato, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, toxic work environments, how do you find that these start manifesting themselves in people?
Well, it's normally that whole to put a frog in a pot of hot water and it boils like that. It's never sudden, so it catches people off guard, if you want to say that. It starts slow, some minor problems, and then they build up to where a person cannot handle the stress anymore. So health-wise, it affects you physically and mentally or emotionally. So somebody might have like non-specific pains and fatigue. They can't put their finger on it because they don't always associate it with it's what has been happening at work for the past 3 months, 6 years, or whatever.
Right.
So, but generally the excessive fatigue, can't get up in the morning, unexplained headaches where you've checked yourself, you're not sick as you know yourself, but you wake up with a headache. You might even develop high blood pressure or new illnesses as a result of the stress itself. So emotionally, it'll affect your mood, where you become disinterested in stuff, not wanting to go to work. There's a term for it, like on Sunday, you have anxiety, like Sunday anxiety, because tomorrow is Monday, right? And you have to go to work and face your horrible bosses or colleagues or that environment as it is. So you may have then that anxiety for Sunday or mood swings, the general lack of not wanting to go to work anymore. Yeah.
And in terms of your own experience from your consultations with your patients or even conversations that you have with your peers, what is the trend that you're seeing in terms of, what Black professionals specifically are going through and how it's showing itself in terms of their health?
Amongst myself and my peers, what I've noticed is that we're definitely admitting more people. Previously, I would say that I probably was admitting more white people because I think for Black people, mental health is still stigmatized quite heavily. But now I'm intervening and saying to somebody who's saying, I think I'm okay, doctor, just give me something so I can cope. And I'm like, but you've mentioned to me that you haven't checked your child's homework in 3 months because you come home at 11 every day. You feel guilty about it, it's giving you stress. You're hardly eating, you're losing weight. You mentioned as we were talking, you saying life is too much. For me, alarm bells ring. Is life too much? You can't live anymore? You don't want to say that you think of ending your life, but I'm pointing out that you actually are leading to stuff which for me are a problem, and I think you need a timeout. So please, we need to admit you. So that's where I think we are admitting more of the Black professionals or people who are of color and are in their situations because they wouldn't normally initiate that whole please admit me under any normal circumstance. But we definitely are having more hospital admissions, putting people more on medication because to cope with the anxiety in case where you cannot go to be admitted. Your life just doesn't allow for that time out of 3 weeks. Sending more people for therapy as well.
Now, one of the things that a lot of people generally struggle with is not being able to identify when they are actually struggling with, for instance, depression. You might be feeling all of these symptoms, like you're so tired, no matter how much you sleep, it doesn't go away, you feel very sluggish, you're very moody, and all of these things. But what are the things that people can start looking out for within themselves in order to know that actually I think I might need a problem, I may have a problem, and might need some assistance?
Well, we can actually break them down into like little categories. So let's start with mentally or emotionally. You may lose interest in a lot of things, including the things you used to enjoy, including your job. Anxiety, mood swings, feeling very, very sad. Like not, I'm a bit sad today, but the sadness that always leaves you feeling like you're in a pit and you just can't come out of it. And then that's actually depression, Physically, you might not be looking after yourself. not eating, no longer doing the things that you used to love to doing, like exercising to keep your body healthy, or eating too much, or not sleeping, or sleeping too much. And then behaviorally, you might detach yourself from social engagement, and also you're crying a lot. You just don't want anything. There's like general feeling of discontent, and doing stuff is just a challenge, basic stuff as well. So those are the kind of things you would look at in terms of mood. Physical symptoms would include fatigue, body pains, muscle tension, headaches, even illnesses where you feel like you've got chest pains that could be, for you feel like you're having a heart attack.
Right.
I have seen patients who come in with stroke-like symptoms where they're numb on the one side of their body, they can't speak, they're slurring. And those symptoms, fortunately for them, were transient, and then they resolved when they recognized that they had to get medical help, and we helped them quickly and also debrief them as to what could have caused that, and then the symptoms, that the brain recovers. So it can be many things, but that's what mostly would present to the doctor.
Now, one of the things that a lot of doctors complain about is how people have this tendency to self-diagnose, right? And I think what I'm seeing in terms of Black professionals is we're not necessarily self-diagnosing, but we're self-medicating.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see a lot of people starting to drink more. It's become a norm to have the excessive, constant drinking. Every day you've got to get home, have a glass or two of wine. Every weekend we're on a binge, and also how we've come to a point where we've accepted emotional eating, and it's become like a very normal thing. Oh, I'm an emotional eater, so how do we start addressing these trends, because that's not a normal thing, and it's quite dangerous, obviously, for our health.
I think that also speaks to the stigma, the general stigma against mental health in the Black communities, because I would tell somebody, I think you need to see a psychiatrist. I am not mad, doctor. I'm not that bad. And you're like, I didn't say you're mad. I'm saying you have a medical condition which involves your brain chemicals, and that's how you deal with your emotions. That affects then your emotions and how you deal with stuff that comes up in your life. So I think that speaks to the stigma that you don't want to go to the doctor because then you're seen as being weak. You're not handling your stress.
Right.
Just have 1 or 2 drinks and you'll be fine. And that is the wrong way to go about it. And obviously the internet doesn't help, because everybody can go do some kind of depression checklist on the internet, and when you're doing it alone, you can deny certain symptoms.
Right.
I don't always do a checklist with the patient by asking them to fill out the blocks. I ask them questions, and from that I tick based on what they said to say, okay, this does correlate to this symptoms. Because sometimes I ask a person, so do you feel depressed or very, very sad? And they can sort of see where that's going, and they want to not show that, so they don't end up on medication or being recommended therapy or even being admitted. So yeah, people self-diagnose because of the internet, and then they want to self-medicate with the wrong things: alcohol, drugs, inappropriate sexual behavior, many things. Yeah.
Do you find that with Black professionals and seeking psychological treatment, is there at times a conflict with Western solutions versus traditional solutions? Do some people perhaps think, no, I'm not going to a shrink, maybe I just need to do something for amadlozi, or I need to just pray more and have more faith, or tithe more, or whatever the case may be?
No, there's definitely that element too. I hear a lot of, I'll go to church on Sunday, and I'm like, it's okay, it's Tuesday now, so can you see the therapist on Thursday first? And you can use both. And there is no problem in going to a therapist. It doesn't make you less of a Christian or whatever religion that you subscribe to, So there is that, the stigma is at the core of it. Like, they see it as something foreign to them. And when you go back to maybe how they grew up, if somebody had, for example, bipolar or depression on the street where they grew up, it was like, ooh, that auntie's banbani is not okay, and the person wasn't treated. It's not their fault that their condition was not controlled, but it's just how we were socially or socialized around mental illness. It was not a thing. I mean, we don't talk about anything bad happens, it's swept under the rug. So now you want to go home and tell your mom that, you know, your boss is giving you problems and you're not coping, and they just tell you, "Well, really, you know, it's witchcraft, and let's just go, you know, pray at church or see the..."
Do a cleansing.
Exactly. So there's a lot of, it's a multifactorial problem, and it does need to be addressed on that level. And to this end, I feel like even when I refer somebody to a therapist, I'm very conscious that I need to tell them of the options of Black therapists, because the commonest thing is I didn't click with that person. I just felt like they didn't get me.
Right.
And when you get behind the why did they not get you, is like, you know how white people are, they don't have problems, doctor, you know, kind of a thing. So, but you know, the therapists are there, the psychiatrists are there of, you know, Black people, so we can engage. We have these resources available and we should use them. We can no longer fall back on the excuses of it's not my culture, or nobody in my family has ever seen a psychiatrist, so why must I start?